Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a conversation thinking it was about one thing and about 5 minutes into it, it spiraled into something completely different? You thought you were talking about performance. They thought you were attacking their character. Now you're both frustrated. This thing's gone off the rails. Nobody feels heard, and the original issue still not resolved, and really now you've dug yourself a hole it's going to be hard to get out of. That's not a communication issue. It's just a misdiagnosis. Because here's the truth. Every difficult conversation has 3 layers. And most managers, they only see the top one. That's like trying to defuse a bomb by cutting that red wire, without realizing there are 2 more bombs underneath. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what those 3 conversations are, how to recognize them in real time, and how to lead with clarity and not confusion. Welcome to the Business Mechanic Show. This is your host, Vaughn Sigmund. I'm the co-founder of Results Driven Leadership. Visit us at rdltraining.com. That's Romeo Delta Lima Training.com. This episode is part of my 14-part series based on my book, The Roadmap to Difficult Conversations. And you can download the full book. It's an ebook. It's 70 pages. And you can get that for free right now. The link is in the show notes. Grab it, read it, enjoy it. It's all yours, gratis. Because if you're serious about mastering communication and leadership, moving from manager to leader, check out the book, use the tools, read my articles, check out my training and coaching. It's all going to help you lead with confidence. Like what you're hearing? Please like, share, and subscribe to the Business Mechanics. You'll never miss an episode. Let's get into it. The 3 conversations you're actually having. Most leaders step into a difficult conversation thinking it's about one thing. What happened? Who dropped the ball? What went wrong? Whose fault is it? Who said what? And that's only the tip of the iceberg. There are 2 more layers you see operating beneath the surface. Ones that you must address if you want to see real change. What the hell am I talking about? Let's break it down. The first layer is what happened? You need to have the what happened conversation. Don't assume you already know, because you do not. You understand the surface level, and that often leads to an argument, and nobody wins in an argument. Only damage is done. You want to get to the bottom of it. You want to solve it. You want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Well, you're going to have these 3 conversations, these 3 layers. And you're going to have to stay away from sticking yourself at just the surface level part of it. During this conversation, you need to discuss events, facts, timelines, expectations, all using open-ended questions and without your pre-assumptions. You want to use those open-ended questions that are in the book. There's dozens of them in there to help you get practice on how to have these difficult conversations. But understand, there's a trap. And here's the trap if you only stay at the surface. Your version of the facts isn't the truth. It's your truth. And their version is just as real to them as your version is to you. Why? Because our brains are storytelling machines. We fill in the blanks. We invent motives, intentions, and we backfill narratives based on our experiences, not facts. Experiences and narratives that align with how we feel, not what actually happened. That is a natural occurrence. We all do it. And you can train yourself away from that understanding what I'm sharing with you today in this podcast, and certainly all the things I share with you in the book. Two people can walk out of the same meeting and give completely different versions of what went down. Happens all the time. That's not lying. That's biology. So, managers moving to leader, your old habit may be, you said this, you did that, and that's not acceptable, conversation over. You're telling them, you're taking charge, and it feels good, but it's very ineffective. Very ineffective. It may make you feel good, but it's not going to fix the issue. You've got to know all the facts. And the more the person you're speaking with can tell you the facts, will broaden your understanding. Will get their emotion into the soup. You're creating a pool of collective knowledge now, so that now you have the tools and the knowledge to correct this situation. So your new habit, your new leader mindset, hey, let's walk through what we each saw. I want to understand your side, and I'll share mine as well. So instead of going, you said this, you did that, that's not acceptable, let's walk through this together. I want to understand what happened, and I'll share my perspective on it. So here's maybe a role play. Grab somebody you trust and have this role play over a recent conversation you may have had. And the role play will go like something like this. I heard from a client that your install was delayed, and they mentioned your team never followed up. And the person you're speaking to may say, that's not true. I emailed them on Monday. And then okay, good to know. Let's compare what each of us saw happen, and so we're working with the full picture. This reframes the whole conversation from a blame game to a shared discovery. So instead of saying, you did wrong, you need to fix it, hey, this is what I heard, tell me your side. Because very often what you heard is missing all of the facts, and you need all of the facts in order to solve the situation, and sometimes make sure it doesn't happen again. So number one, the what happened conversation. You need to go into it open-minded, holding your opinions or your emotions loosely, so that you do not go in with a predetermination of what happened. Be open to finding out what actually happened. And the second conversation is the feelings conversation. Now we're going deeper. This is the emotional layer. And here's what most managers get wrong. They try to avoid it. Yeah, that's our fight or flight. That's our conflict avoidance. But here's the deal. Feelings aren't optional. They're not some side dish to the conversation. They drive the entire thing. And understand the old saying, it's not what you say, but how you make them feel. That's going to make the changes you're looking for. That's going to make the improvements you seek. You've got to get their feelings involved. And as soon as you drive your conversation based on some assumptions, you're going to drive the feelings in the wrong way. Because if someone feels attacked, dismissed, unheard, they feel unimportant, that their opinion doesn't count, their logical brain shuts down. And now all they're doing is listening to how you're wrong, not taking in any of the information you're sharing. That's not attitude. That's not them having a bad attitude. That's their limbic system. It's taking over, fight or flight. They're going to fight against you if you attack them, if they have any of these feelings. So you got to avoid creating those feelings by being open-minded, asking open questions, seeking information, because that is ultimately the most important thing, is understanding you're dealing with feelings. Don't drive it off the rails by assuming and accusing. Get the facts. Sometimes when you see somebody getting emotional, your old habit may be, hey, let's just keep this professional. Emotions don't belong here. This is work. There's no emotions at work. There is. You're wrong. Emotions drive everything we do all day, every day. So what you want to do is create a new habit that says, I can tell this is weighing on you. Let's talk about that. I understand something went wrong in this conversation. Let's figure out what's going on so we can fix that. So you might want to say something in a role play before you go into it. Is, hey, before we drive into details, I get the sense that this has been really frustrating for you. Is that right? They may sigh and say, yeah, honestly feels like no one had my back. Now you know their feelings. Now you know they feel unsupported. And so based on that, now that you have their emotions as part of the soup, you can thank them for sharing and say something like, well, let's talk through what happened and what support you might have expected and what you're going to need going forward. That's called fixing the problem. You don't need to fix the emotion. You just need to acknowledge it. They control their emotions. You can't. You can guide their emotions, but you can't fix it. You can change their attitude through your words and your acceptance and being open-minded, acknowledging that they have facts that you don't possess. You see, it's one of the deepest human needs is when people feel seen, when they feel heard, they feel appreciated, unjudged, they lower their guard. And once that guard is down, you can now have the right conversation, the real conversation. And then the third conversation, the what happened, the emotion conversation, and now the identity conversation. This is the deepest level, the one no one talks about, but everyone feels. Again, these feelings are so important in conversations. This is that inner voice saying, am I failing? Do they still respect me? Am I going to get fired? Do I even belong here anyway? Why does nobody listen to me? Why do they like me? When someone feels their identity is being attacked, whether it's their competence, their character, their value, their truth, their experience, well, their entire defense system lights up. That's how humans work. And boom, the conversation is over. The argument may begin, and very often their ability to listen to you just went out the window because they've shut it down. Psychologists call this ego threat. And it doesn't matter how calm or logical you are. Once you identify and threaten their ego, their identity, progress through this conversation has shut down. So instead of going in like you may have done in the past, but maybe not you, I've seen others do this. You're not pulling your weight. Ooh, okay. They're working, they're coming to work every day. They're working hard in their mind. They're doing the right thing in their mind. People don't come to work to do a bad job. They come to work to do a good job every day. And it's through your treatment of them is going to determine whether they're committing their full emotional positivity to doing the job or not. So instead of saying, you're not pulling your weight, which is an attack on them, they're going to automatically become confrontational because you're wrong in their mind. You might want to understand what their part of it is, their opinion of it is, by saying, hey, listen, Carl, I know how committed you are. That's not the question. You've worked hard every day you've been here. This is about one outcome we need to improve. Let's talk about that. Sound good? How different is that than you don't pull your weight? Keep their emotions in check. You've opened their ears up. You open their mind up to some suggestion, maybe some coaching or training, and you're going to have a far better outcome. So role play something along the lines of, Carl, look, I've seen the way you own projects. That's part of what makes this conversation tough because, the deadline got missed. And your past and what happened just doesn't line up with how well I know how you operate. You mind if we talk about what got in the way, what went wrong, so we can do something to make sure that doesn't happen again? Now you see the difference. They're not being labeled. They're not being attacked. They're being supported. You're showing that you're listening to them, that you're interested in their side of things. You've separated the person, the event, from the performance. That's what great leaders do. So let's put it all together. Let's do a quick recap. You've got 3 conversations. As part of a difficult conversation, the what happened, you want to get the facts and perspectives. You've got to deal with the feelings, understanding that you're dealing with emotions all under the surface, and how well you deal with those will 100% determine the outcome of this conversation. Then you, as also part of the feelings, is you got to understand the identity. It's the what happened, the feelings, and the identity. Because very often what that conversation will do will create fears, unspoken fears, attack their value, their sense of belonging. It'll break that trust between you and them. In fact, I had a conversation yesterday with a company that has just brought me on to help them, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of great things in this organization, but there's a lot of things that have some opportunity to improve, and I was talking to an 18-year veteran of this organization who has achieved a lot, but her relationship through some conversations with her boss has attacked her identity, has impacted her feelings. Her boss has made some predeterminations that are not in accordance with what really happened, according to her. And this is an 18-year mature person who's contributed a lot to this organization, has been dedicated, loyal. And this leader she's working for has broken that trust and has hurt her feelings and has attacked her identity. And she said several times during the conversation, do I really belong here? I've done so much. I hate to walk away from 18 years of commitment and contribution to this company, but do I belong here? And you don't want those kind of feelings. If you don't respond and understand, you're missing the real issue. But if you can lead across all 3 of these, the what happened, the feelings, and the identity, you shift from managing problems to building people. You don't want your best people, even if they're brand new people, feeling attacked. Change your approach and you'll change the outcomes. So, how do I prepare for this? How do I practice doing this? What are the things I need to think about before I go into a difficult conversation? Well, the first thing you want to do is prep. And I've talked about these 3 things today: the what happened, the feelings, the identity, keeping all those in mind. And you want to prep with a 3-layer framework, which I mentioned in last week's podcast. What's their version of the story, what emotions might be carrying in, and what identity fears. Am I going to make them feel threatened? I love pattern interrupts. When the conversation starts heating up, if you see it going wrong, pause and say something like, hold on, I've allowed this to get off track. Let's reset here. I think we're both trying to solve the problem from different angles. Can we take a breath and realign? Recognize it, stop it, pause it, redirect. That's your pattern interrupt. Don't just let your emotions, maybe sometimes your anger, create anger in them and then just get into an argument, because once again, everybody loses in an argument. And then at the end, so you want to, 1, prep, understanding these 3 things, know what you're going to say before you go in there, keeping the what happened story, their emotions, and making sure whatever you say or whatever you're asking is not going to create some fear in them, unnecessary fear. If it starts going off the rails, reset, interrupt the pattern, redirect the path. And then after you have that conversation, it's a really smart move to debrief with yourself afterwards. Think about how the conversation went and ask yourself, did I address all 3 layers? Did the energy shift to negative or did it shift to positive? What worked? What should I do better next time? And as you get more confident and comfortable with having difficult conversations, or you're getting the reps, you'll get better every time. Don't chase perfection, chase progress. Get a little better, but keep these 3 fundamentals in mind. So, some suggestions on how to change this habit, moving from manager to leader. It's going to require you rewiring how you approach pressured situations. And here's how to start. 1, awareness. Most of your habits today run on autopilot. However old you are and how long you've been managing, that's how long this habit's been in place. So understand it's going to take a while to create a new one, a better one, an improved one. So be aware. Old habits are always there, and right now they're on autopilot. And you're going to need to replace that old habit with a new habit that's more effective. And the first win for you is noticing when you're slipping into the old mindset and catching yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. You get better when you know I'm making a mistake and then are willing and brave enough to redirect. Because your old habits, especially under pressure, are always right under the surface, and with the right spark, with the right trigger, they'll come rushing right back out. Catch it, redirect it. Second thing you should do in order to form these new habits is make sure before you have a difficult conversation is role play. You can role play in the mirror. You can role play into a camera. You can role play with a peer or a boss. But run through this conversation out loud. Don't just keep it in your head. Say it. I know that might sound goofy. Most people hate role playing, but let me tell you, it's so effective. How many times have you solved your own problem by just talking it through with somebody? That's how the mind works. Just run through this tough conversation and think about things from their perspective, not just your perspective. Keep that in mind. And then the third thing is make sure you include reflection after the fact. Ask, did I lead with curiosity or did I lead with control? Did I implement my new habits or did I revert to my old habits? Did I react or did I respond? You're in control. You can control all of that. Don't fool yourself telling yourself that you can't. And let me tell you, every time you choose understanding over proving, understanding over being right, You're reinforcing a new path. And over time, well, that becomes your new habit. That becomes your default. But it takes time. Be easy on yourself. But require the change of yourself. So, key takeaway. You can't solve a 3-layer problem with a 1-layer conversation. Those 3 layers are in every conversation. Don't deny it because they're there. So the mistake most people make, most managers make when they're having a difficult conversation is they only take 1 layer into account. They only approach it with that 1 layer. Keep in mind you got 3. And if you want real results, you want more trust, you want better performance, you want a stronger culture, you need to lead all of these conversations at the same time. The what happened, the emotions, and their identity. So, key takeaway for today. I hope right now, think of the last conversation you had that didn't go well. Pull out a sheet of paper, break it into 3 columns. What happened, feelings, identity. And then break down that conversation. Fill it out honestly. What did you hear? What did you say? What did you say, and how could that have made that person feel? And did you create fear? Did you demotivate them? Then ask yourself, how could I have done this differently? Knowing what you know now. That exercise alone will level up your awareness and prepare you for the next big moment, the next opportunity. Now, I'll remind you again, download the book. If you want the full framework, go to the show notes, grab your free copy of the Roadmap to Difficult Conversations right now. And for more training, tools, read my articles, you want to level up your leadership game, keep listening to the podcast, go to my website, rdltraining.com. That's Romeo Delta Lima Training.com. There's a world of information in there between the podcast, the articles, other free tools. Or let's get you coached. Let's get you some training. Let's go. And if you got value from this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it, subscribe to the Business Mechanic Show. That helps other people get exposure to this. And between the two of us, let's build a world of better leaders, one difficult conversation at a time. Now, coming up next, in the 3rd of this series, we're going to tackle the intention invention. How to avoid making an ass out of yourself for assuming you know what happened. You don't know most of the times, and the 3 truths you must find out before you embarrass yourself and blow the whole conversation. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Go out there and get after it.